What is happening, guys? This is Aditya, and in today's video you are going to learn how to animate your React Native header using React Navigation and the Animated API from React Native. Alright, let's get started. Alright, let's start. So as you can see, guys, I do not have a header component for my main view right now. I have basically a main component which is wrapped inside my whole app, which is a stack navigator. So my main component currently looks like this. There's a scroll view in my main component, and there's a text view. The text basically renders this text, and the height of the scroll view is 1000 pixels for now, so we could actually scroll the scroll view. Let's see it in our app. As you can see, I have a scroll view and the default header component provided by React Navigation. Alright, now our goal is to firstly create our own header component and replace this existing one. We do not need this one. So what we need to do is, inside our stack navigator, after screen, we just need to pass another object. It's called navigation options, and then you have to return a new header key from it, and this header will point to our new header component. We haven't created this header component, so let's just create it. Let's create a header.js file. This header.js file would be another React component, friends. So let's create it. Put React from React. The things which we are going to need from the React Native are, I believe we'll be needing a view, animated, and image to show our image inside our header. Let's export it. Default class header extends react dot component render return. Let's return a view that has an image inside it, and the height of the view will set to, oops, sorry for that, the height has to be 120. You can set it according to your own needs. And the other thing we need to set is its position needs to be absolute. From top it has to be 0, left 0, background color could be, let's choose white for now, and width it has to be 100%, and image we could, I have downloaded another image which is I think it's cat. Yes, it is. So let's just render this image inside our header and style it a little bit. We can specify its height to be 30 pixels, width to be another 30. Also, to make sure that this image is placed in at the center of our header, let's say justify content center and align items center. Alright, with this new thing we'll have a header. Let's import it. I haven't imported my header component in my app yet, so let's do that. Header.js, you can skip the .js part, it works. Let's see now. Alright, so I have the image of the cat inside my header component. The component that we are currently looking at is our custom header. So the previously rendered header component by React Navigation is replaced by our own custom header. Now our goal is to animate this header. You might be wondering, where is my main component, because we couldn't see the text Batman Forever anymore. The Batman Forever text is basically behind this header component, as our header component is absolutely positioned, so we won't be able to see it. We'll fix that in a moment. Now our goal is to animate the height of this header based on the amount of scroll from the user. When I say amount of scroll, I basically what I mean is when the user is in this particular section and he or she performs a scroll action, maybe towards upwards or downwards. It basically depends on them. So let's animate our header based on the amount of scroll a user does inside our main component. So let's get started with our main animation. The first thing that we need to do here, guys, is we need to set a scroll event throttle, which basically says the uh, you can call it you can refer to it as something as the scroll events that you the frequency of the scroll events that you receive when the user scrolls. So a higher value specifies that you will receive less number of events, but the performance would be better. But if you specify a lower number, below 16, let's say if you specify 2, then you will receive more number of events when the user scroll, but this would result in a very poor performance. So I have chosen here 16 over here. You can select a value that's preferable to you. The next thing that we need to do is look for on scroll event. When the user scrolls, we get animated. All right, I need to import animated as well, and I'm animated. Okay, now on scroll, what we'll do is we'll get an animated dot event, and this animated dot event consists of an array. So we need to specify the first object in it, which is native event. The native event, inside native event, we need to specify content offset. From this content offset, we need to specify we'll get the y offset of the current scroll. So we can attach this y offset to our let's say scroll y, and we'll specify this scroll y inside our component did mount. What is component did mount, guys? I hope you know. Oops, not inside render. I'm sorry for this. It has to be outside render. Component did mount. So this dot scroll y is nothing but a new animated value which will be initiated with 0. Now when the y offset changes, like when the user actually starts scrolling, we'll get an input in this this dot scroll y. That is what we did. On scroll, we specified a new animated event, and we take the y offset and we assign that y offset to our this dot scroll y variable. Now we need to specify another variable and call it this dot changing height. Changing height will be this dot scroll y dot interpolate. We need to interpolate based on the input we are receiving from this dot scroll y. Interpolate as in it will give us an input range which would be let's say in the beginning, as the user didn't scroll, the input would be 0, and after a certain amount, let's say after the offset reaches 50 value, we need to stop. So that's what input range is. It has to be input range, I'm sorry. Okay, now we need to specify output range. The output range, let's say when the user hasn't scrolled, we want the height of the header, this particular header, we want its height to be 120. So when the user hasn't scrolled, which means the y offset is 0, the height of the header would be 120. And when the user has scrolled to a y offset of 50, let's say the height of the header changes to 60. We need to specify one additional variable, which is extrapolate, and it has to be clamp. What this means is we need to stop the interpolation after the output range is 60. So this does not, whenever the output range reaches 60, we do not look for any additional input range. So this prevents us from having jerky animations. You can skip this part. Just specify extrapolate clamp. It's not a big deal. Now we need to set this parameters to our header component. How does our header component get to know that about this dot changing height variable? What we do is we do this dot props dot set params. I guess, I hope I'm not wrong here. This dot props dot set param, and then we'll do a changing height, which would be equal to this dot changing height. All right, so what we are doing here is we are basically setting our params to this dot changing height, which is this variable which we received from the scroll view event of our main component. No, I think it has to be navigation. I'm sorry for this. It has to be this dot props dot navigation dot set params. All right, we have done what needs to be done at main.js. Let's save this. See if our app didn't crash. Okay, looks good. That's one more change, guys. We need to specify an additional view which has a height of 120. So our main component comes into view. Now we can see Batman Forever. Before we specified this view, our main component was rendering over here. So we have fixed that. All right, now let's move to header.js. Inside header.js, we need to import animated. We have already done that. And now let's destructure this dot props dot state. Oops. Okay. And from this we'll be getting params. Oops. Params. Height. What we need to do now here is, guys, let's set this to animated.view firstly. Animated.view. And we need to change this height based on the params that we are receiving from our main component. All right, now what we do is we see if params is not equal to undefined, and then params dot changing height is not equal to undefined, then height would be params dot changing height, or else it would be 120. So I think this should work. Let's test. As you can see, guys, this is working. We have an animated header height based on the amount of scroll the user does. As you can see, guys, this is a little bit jerky animation, and it is primarily because I'm rendering the app on my this emulator. If you test it on a real device, the performance would be much better. So that's that. What you guys can additionally do is you can animate this image as well based on the scroll. All that you need to do is you can specify additional parameter over main.js. You can say this dot image width is equal to this dot scroll y dot interpolate input range. Input range would be 0 to 50, and the output range would be 6, and next extrapolate would be clamp. Let's try to hide the image. So what we'll basically do is change the opacity based on the amount of scroll the user does. So let's change when the user hasn't scrolled, the opacity of the image would be 1, and if he has scrolled to a 50 amount, then and change this variable image width to image opacity, and let's repeat this over here, this dot image opacity. Now we need to change this image uh, like so, animated dot image, and the height and the width variable would remain same. Will change the opacity though. Opacity would be if params is not equal to undefined. This is basically error handling, guys. We need to specify this. Params is not equal to undefined, and then params dot image opacity is not equal to undefined, then params dot image opacity or else 1. Let's test this. Alright, so as you can see, guys, the image is closely hiding away when I scroll, and when the user scrolls back, we have a nice little animation that the image's opacity is changing. So that was handling the custom header from React Navigation using animated API from React Native. Let me know if you want me to, make another video on this. We have pretty complex animations for this part alone. I'll do that if you guys ask for it, and that's that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, keep coding and goodbye.